The day started like any other on Earth. People went about their usual routines, unaware that everything was about to change. In New Mexico, at the Very Large Array Radio Telescope, Dr. Sarah Chen yawned as she stared at her computer screen. It had been a quiet night shift, with nothing unusual to report. As the first rays of sunlight peeked over the horizon, Sarah's computer suddenly lit up with activity. At first, she thought it was a glitch. But as she looked closer, her eyes widened. The incoming signal was like nothing she had ever seen before. "Hey, Mike, come look at this," she called to her colleague. Mike rushed over, his coffee mug still in hand. He leaned in, squinting at the screen. "What am I looking at, Sarah?" "I'm not sure," she replied, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "But it's not natural. And it's strong. Really strong." As they watched, the signal grew stronger. It wasn't just coming from one direction in space. It was coming from everywhere, all at once. Suddenly, every speaker in the facility crackled to life. A deep, otherworldly voice filled the room. "People of Earth, hear me. I am Zorn, ambassador of the Galactic Empire. This message is being broadcast to every communication device on your planet. Listen carefully, for I will not repeat myself." Sarah and Mike looked at each other, their faces pale. This couldn't be happening. It had to be a prank, right? But as the voice continued, they realized this was all too real. Earth has been designated as a protected zone by the Galactic Empire. You are hereby warned. Do not attempt to leave your planet. Earth is off limits to space travel. Any violation of this order will be met with severe consequences. Around the world, the same scene played out. In homes, offices, cars, and public spaces, people stopped what they were doing. They listened in shock as the alien voice delivered its chilling message. In New York City, Times Square fell silent as the message boomed from every screen and speaker. In Beijing, millions of people stared at their phones in disbelief. In a small village in Kenya, families huddled around their single radio, trying to make sense of what they were hearing. The voice of Zorn continued. "We have observed your species for many years. While you have made some progress, you are not yet ready to join the galactic community. For your own safety, and for the safety of other worlds, you must remain isolated on Earth." In the White House Situation Room, the President of the United States sat in stunned silence. Her advisors argued around her, but she couldn't focus on their words. How could she possibly respond to this? At the United Nations in Geneva, diplomats from every nation gathered in an emergency session. The usual political divisions were forgotten as they faced this unprecedented threat to human freedom. Back in New Mexico, Sarah and Mike worked frantically to record and analyze the signal. Other scientists around the world were doing the same. They all reached the same conclusion. This was no hoax. The signal's origin was definitively extraterrestrial. As Zorn's message came to an end, he left humanity with a final warning. Do not test our resolve. The Earth is now under our protection, whether you like it or not. This is not a negotiation. It is your new reality. With that, the signal cut off. An eerie silence fell across the globe. For a few moments, the world held its breath. Then, chaos erupted. Social media exploded with theories and reactions. Some people panicked, rushing to stores to stock up on supplies. Others celebrated, seeing the alien intervention as a sign of hope. Many simply sat in shock, trying to process what had just happened. World leaders scrambled to address their nations. But what could they say? In the span of a few minutes, everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they were no longer free to explore it. As the sun set on this extraordinary day, Sarah Chen stood outside the radio telescope facility. She looked up at the stars, which suddenly seemed much closer and much more threatening. "What happens now?" Mike asked, joining her. Sarah shook her head. "I don't know, but nothing will ever be the same." As night fell on Earth, its people faced a new and uncertain future. The Galactic Empire had spoken. Earth was off limits, and humanity had to figure out how to live in this new, confined reality. The days following the alien message were filled with chaos and confusion. World leaders struggled to maintain order as people everywhere tried to make sense of their new reality. In Washington, D.C., President Elena Martinez called an emergency meeting of her top advisors. The tension in the Oval Office was thick enough to cut with a knife. "What are our options?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. General Thompson, a tall man with a stern face, spoke first. "Madam President, I suggest we continue our space program in secret. We can't let these aliens push us around." Dr. Olivia Wong, the president's science advisor, shook her head. "That's too risky. We don't know what kind of technology they have. They could be watching us right now." As the debate raged on, similar scenes played out in capitals around the world. In Beijing, Moscow, London, and Delhi, leaders grappled with the same questions. Should they defy the Galactic Empire or submit to their demands? Meanwhile, in a small town in Kansas, a group of friends sat around a campfire, discussing the situation. "I bet it's all a hoax," said Tom, a local mechanic. "Probably some government trick to keep us scared." Sarah, a high school teacher, disagreed. "But every scientist in the world confirms the signal came from space. How could they all be lying?" As they argued, a bright light suddenly appeared in the sky. It wasn't a star or a plane. It moved in impossible ways, zigzagging across the heavens before disappearing in a flash. The friends sat in stunned silence. Whatever doubts they had were now gone. The aliens were real, and they were here. At the United Nations in New York, an emergency session was called. Representatives from every nation gathered to discuss humanity's response to the Galactic Empire's warning. The Secretary General, a wise woman named Amara Okafor, addressed the assembly. "We stand at a crossroads," she said, her voice echoing through the hall. "For the first time in our history, all of humanity faces a common challenge. We must decide. Do we accept these limits placed upon us, or do we fight for our freedom to explore the stars?" The debate that followed was heated. Some nations argued for compliance, fearing the aliens' superior technology. Others called for resistance, unwilling to be caged on their own planet. As the UN struggled to find consensus, the scientific community was hard at work. In laboratories and universities around the world, researchers pored over the alien message, trying to learn more about the Galactic Empire. At NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California, Dr. Alex Chen made a startling discovery. "Look at this," he said to his colleague, pointing at a computer screen. "There's a hidden pattern in the signal. I think it's a map." Word of Dr. Chen's discovery spread quickly. If it was indeed a map, could it show the location of the Galactic Empire, or perhaps a way to contact them? As scientists debated the meaning of the map, ordinary people around the world tried to adjust to their new reality. Some found comfort in religion, seeing the aliens as angels or demons. Others turned to conspiracy theories, convinced it was all an elaborate hoax. In India, a young girl named Priya looked up at the stars and wondered, "If we can't go to space," she asked her father, "will the aliens ever come to us?" Her father, unsure how to answer, simply hugged her close. As the first week after the message came to an end, humanity was still divided. Some wanted to reach out to the Galactic Empire to negotiate or plead their case. Others wanted to defy the warning and continue space exploration in secret. But everyone agreed on one thing: the world had changed forever. The question now was, how would humanity change with it? As night fell around the globe, billions of people looked up at the stars. For the first time in history, they knew for certain that they were not alone. And that knowledge was both thrilling and terrifying. The Galactic Empire had drawn a line in the cosmos. Now, humanity had to decide whether to cross it. 2 months after the Galactic Empire's warning, life on Earth had settled into an uneasy new normal. People went about their daily lives, but always with one eye on the sky. In a small research facility hidden in the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Samantha Lee worked tirelessly. She had been chosen to lead a secret project aimed at understanding the alien technology. As she peered into a microscope, she gasped. "This can't be right," she muttered, adjusting the lens. But it was. The strange material they had found at a supposed alien landing site was unlike anything on Earth. It seemed to defy the laws of physics. Just then, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as security guards rushed past the lab. "What's going on?" Samantha asked a passing guard. "Intruder alert," he shouted back. "Stay in your lab and lock the door." Heart pounding, Samantha did as she was told. She peeked through the small window in the door, trying to see what was happening. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the hallway. It wasn't human. Its skin shimmered like liquid metal, and its eyes glowed an unnatural blue. The alien, for that's what it had to be, turned and looked directly at Samantha. She froze, unable to move or breathe. Then, to her shock, it spoke. "Do not be afraid, Dr. Lee. I am here to help." Miles away, in Washington, D.C., President Martinez received an urgent call. "Madam President," her chief of staff said, voice shaking, "we've just received word. There's been a breach at the Montana facility." The president's face paled. "The alien research site. How bad is it?" "We don't know yet, but satellite imagery shows an unidentified object leaving the area at impossible speeds." As world leaders scrambled to respond to this new development, ordinary people remained unaware of the drama unfolding. In a small cafe in Paris, Jean-Pierre sipped his coffee and read the morning news. The headline caught his eye. UN debates reopening space programs. He shook his head. "They're going to get us all killed," he muttered to himself. But across the table, his daughter Marie's eyes lit up. "Papa, do you think we'll really be able to go to space someday?" Jean-Pierre sighed. "I don't know, Cherie. It's complicated." Back in the Rocky Mountain facility, Samantha found herself face to face with the alien visitor. Despite her fear, curiosity won out. "Who are you?" she asked. "Why are you here?" The alien's form shimmered as it spoke. "I am Zora, an observer from the Galactic Empire. I've come to warn you." Samantha's eyes widened. "Warn us? About what?" "Your leaders are making a grave mistake," Zora said. The warning to stay on Earth wasn't a threat. It was protection. Before Samantha could ask more, alarms blared again. The alien looked alarmed. "I must go," Zora said. "But remember, Earth is off limits for a reason. The galaxy is more dangerous than you can imagine." With that, the alien vanished in a flash of light, leaving Samantha stunned and full of questions. As news of the alien encounter spread among top government officials, debates raged. Some saw it as proof that they should obey the Empire's warning. Others argued it showed the aliens could be reasoned with. In a secret meeting of the UN Security Council, tempers flared. "We can't just sit here and do nothing," the Russian representative shouted. "And what would you suggest?" China's delegate shot back. "Start a war we can't win." As the arguments continued, no one noticed a small drone hovering outside the window, recording everything. In orbit above Earth, hidden from human detection, a massive alien ship received the drone's transmission. The ship's commander, Zorn, watched the humans argue with a mixture of amusement and concern. "They're not ready," he said to his second-in-command, "but they're also more resilient than we expected." "What should we do?" his officer asked. Zorn thought for a moment. "We'll need to accelerate our plans. Earth's isolation can't last forever. We must prepare them, ready or not." As night fell over Earth, most of its inhabitants slept soundly, unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding above them. But for those in the know, like Samantha Lee and President Martinez, sleep would not come easily. The future of humanity hung in the balance, and the next move was theirs to make. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Empire's warning. The world had changed, but humanity's spirit remained unbroken. In a hidden underground facility beneath the Sahara Desert, a group of scientists and engineers worked in secret. Dr. Ahmed Hassan wiped sweat from his brow as he looked at the massive spaceship before him. It was unlike any vessel ever built on Earth, incorporating reverse-engineered alien technology. "Status report," he called out to his team. "Engines are at 95% capacity, sir," replied Sarah, his chief engineer. "We're almost ready for the test flight." Ant nodded, his heart racing with excitement and fear. This project, codenamed Phoenix, was humanity's secret rebellion against the Galactic Empire's restrictions. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, Zorn watched the planet with growing concern. His ship's sensors had detected unusual energy readings from the Sahara. "It seems the humans are more resourceful than we anticipated," he mused to his second-in-command. "Should we intervene?" the officer asked. Zorn shook his head. "Not yet. Let's see what they do next." Back on Earth, in a small town in Brazil, Maria Silva scrolled through her newsfeed. Headlines about alien sightings and government conspiracies filled her screen. She sighed, wondering what was real and what was just wild speculation. Suddenly, a breaking news alert popped up. Mysterious lights spotted over Sahara Desert. Maria's eyes widened. Could it be related to the aliens, or was it something else entirely? In the underground facility, alarms blared as the Phoenix prepared for its maiden voyage. Dr. Hassan addressed his nervous crew. "Today, we make history," he said, his voice firm. "We'll prove that humanity cannot be caged." As the countdown began, tension filled the air. Would the ship work? And if it did, what would the Galactic Empire do? 3, 2, 1. Ignition. The Phoenix roared to life, its engines glowing with an otherworldly light. It shot out of the hidden hangar, streaking into the night sky faster than any Earth-made vehicle had ever moved. Around the world, people looked up in awe as a bright light zipped across the heavens. Social media exploded with videos and theories. In Washington, D.C., President Martinez received an urgent call. "Madam President," her advisor said, voice shaking. "Project Phoenix has launched. They've broken through the atmosphere." The president closed her eyes, a mix of pride and fear washing over her. "May God help us all," she whispered. As the Phoenix breached Earth's atmosphere, the crew cheered. They had done it. They were in space. But their celebration was short-lived. Suddenly, a massive ship appeared before them, dwarfing the Phoenix. It was Zorn's vessel, and it had been waiting for them. A booming voice filled the Phoenix's cockpit. "Humans of Earth, you have violated our warning. Prepare to be boarded." Panic spread through the crew. Some wanted to fight, others to flee. Dr. Hassan raised his hands, calling for calm. "We knew this might happen," he said. "Now we face the consequences of our choice. But remember, we've already won. We've proven that humanity will not be confined." As a tractor beam from Zorn's ship enveloped the Phoenix, the crew braced themselves for what was to come. Back on Earth, the world watched and waited. The secret mission was now public knowledge, and opinions were divided. Some hailed the Phoenix crew as heroes, while others feared they had doomed humanity. In her small Brazilian town, Maria joined her neighbors in the street, all looking up at the sky. They couldn't see what was happening, but they could feel that everything was about to change. "What do you think will happen now?" someone asked. Maria shook her head. "I don't know," she replied. "But whatever comes next, we're in it together." As the Phoenix was pulled into the alien ship, humanity held its collective breath. The confrontation they had both feared and secretly longed for was about to begin. The future of Earth hung in the balance, and the next few hours would determine the fate of an entire species. The crew of the Phoenix found themselves in a vast, shimmering chamber aboard Zorn's ship. The alien technology surrounding them was beyond anything they had ever imagined. Dr. Hassan and his team stood close together, a mix of fear and awe on their faces. Zorn, The Galactic Empire's ambassador entered the chamber. He was tall, with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to hold the depths of the universe. The humans gasped at his otherworldly appearance. Brave explorers of Earth, Zorn's voice resonated in their minds rather than their ears. You have broken our decree. Now you must face the consequences. Dr. Hassan stepped forward, his voice shaking but determined. We meant no disrespect, Ambassador. We only wish to understand our place in the universe. Zorn's expression was unreadable. Understanding comes at a price, Dr. Hassan. Are you prepared to pay it? Before Hassan could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Zorn's attention snapped to a holographic display that appeared in midair. Impossible, he muttered. On the screen, the humans saw multiple ships approaching. Earth ships. Somehow, their governments had managed to launch a rescue mission. Back on Earth, tension gripped every nation. The secret space programs of various countries had been revealed, and a hastily formed coalition was now challenging the Galactic Empire. In the United Nations emergency session, chaos reigned. Representatives argued fiercely about the wisdom of this action. We're going to start an interstellar war, shouted one diplomat. We can't abandon our people, retorted another. As debates raged, military commanders around the world watched their screens nervously. The fate of humanity now rested on this confrontation in space. Aboard Zorn's ship, the situation was escalating quickly. The ambassador turned to the Phoenix crew, his eyes flashing. Your species continues to surprise us, he said, but this defiance cannot go unchallenged. Dr. Hassan saw an opportunity. Perhaps this is a chance for dialogue, Ambassador, to understand each other better. Zorn considered this for a moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, he nodded. Very well. We shall meet with your leaders. But be warned, the consequences of this meeting will shape the destiny of your world. In a flash of light, Zorn, Dr. Hassan, and a few key members of the Phoenix crew were transported to the lead Earth ship. The sudden appearance of the alien ambassador sent the rescue team into a frenzy. General Lai of the Chinese Space Force, who was leading the mission, stepped forward. We demand the release of our people and recognition of Earth's right to explore space, she said firmly. Zorn's response was calm but carried an undercurrent of danger. Your demands are bold, General. But do you understand what you're asking for? The galaxy is filled with wonders, yes, but also terrors beyond your imagination. As this tense negotiation unfolded in space, Earth watched and waited. News channels broadcast continuous updates, and social media was ablaze with speculation and fear. In a small village in Kenya, a group had gathered around the only television. Among them was a young boy named Jabari, his eyes wide with wonder. Do you think we'll be able to visit other planets now? He asked his grandmother. The old woman smiled softly. Perhaps, child. But sometimes the greatest adventures are found right here at home. Back in space, Zorn made a decision. We will allow a delegation from Earth to visit our capital world. There, you will learn the true reason for our warning. After that, your people must make a choice: remain isolated on Earth, or join the galactic community with all its perils and promises. The human leaders exchanged glances. This was more than they had hoped for, but it also filled them with trepidation. Dr. Hassan stepped forward. We accept your offer, Ambassador. When do we leave? Zorn's eyes seemed to twinkle with an ancient wisdom. Prepare yourselves. The journey begins now. As the ships prepared for their historic voyage, humanity held its breath. The next chapter of their story was about to unfold among the stars, for better or for worse. The journey to the Galactic Empire's capital world, Zenith, took 3 Earth weeks. For Dr. Hassan, General Lai, and the other chosen delegates, it felt like a dream. They watched in awe as their ship passed countless stars and alien worlds. Finally, they arrived. Zenith was unlike anything they had imagined. The planet seemed to glow with an inner light, its cities floating in the sky like shimmering jewels. As their ship descended, Zorn turned to the humans. "Welcome to the heart of the Galactic Empire. Prepare yourselves. What you learn here will change everything." The delegation stepped onto Zenith's surface, feeling lighter than on Earth. The air smelled sweet and strange. Alien beings of all shapes and sizes moved about, barely glancing at the newcomers. They were led to a massive building that seemed to be made of living crystal. Inside, they found themselves in a vast chamber. At its center stood a group of beings that radiated power and wisdom. "Greetings, humans," said one, its voice echoing in their minds. "We are the Council of Elders. We have much to discuss." For hours, the council shared the history of the galaxy. They spoke of great civilizations that rose and fell, of terrible wars that scared the fabric of space itself. The humans listened, overwhelmed by the scale of it all. Then the council revealed the truth they had feared to share. "There is a threat," an elder said, "one that has destroyed countless worlds. We call them the Devourers. They consume entire planets, entire species, and they are coming." The human delegates exchanged shocked glances. Dr. Hassan found his voice first. "Is this why you warned us to stay on Earth?" Zorn nodded. "We hoped to protect you, to give you more time to develop, to prepare. But now we must choose," General Lee finished. "Face this threat unprepared, or remain isolated on Earth." The Council confirmed this. "The choice is yours. But know that if the Devourers reach your world, you will face them alone." As the delegation grappled with this information, events were unfolding back on Earth. In New York City, the UN General Assembly was in an uproar. Leaked information about the Devourers had caused panic. Some nations called for immediate action, others for isolation. In a small lab in Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Tanaka made a breakthrough. Studying the alien material they had recovered, she discovered a way to enhance Earth's defensive capabilities. But would it be enough? Meanwhile, in a remote village in the Amazon rainforest, an elderly shaman named Raoni had a vision. He saw a great darkness approaching Earth, but also a light within humanity that could push it back. As word of his vision spread, it gave hope to millions. People began to unite, setting aside old rivalries in the face of this cosmic threat. Back on Zenith, the human delegation prepared to return to Earth. They carried with them data crystals containing advanced technology and knowledge, gifts from the Galactic Empire. Before they left, Zorn had one last message. "Remember, humans, your species has a strength we've rarely seen. You may be young, but you have potential. Use these gifts wisely. The fate of not just your world, but perhaps the entire galaxy may depend on it." As their ship began its journey home, Dr. Hassan looked out at the stars. He thought of Earth, so small and fragile in the vastness of space, yet it was their home, and they would defend it. General Lee joined him. "What do we tell our people?" she asked. Hassan sighed. "The truth. All of it. And then we prepare for whatever comes next." As Earth grew larger in their view screen, the delegates steeled themselves. They carried with them knowledge that would change their world forever. The threat of the Devourers loomed, but so did the opportunity to join a larger galactic community. The choice that lay before humanity was monumental. Isolation or engagement, safety or risk. As their ship entered Earth's atmosphere, they knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The return of the human delegation to Earth marked the beginning of a new era, as they shared the truth about the Devourers and the gifts from the Galactic Empire. The world was thrown into a whirlwind of activity. In the months that followed, Earth underwent a rapid transformation. Cities began to change as alien technology was integrated into daily life. Massive defense systems, powered by the knowledge from Zenith, sprouted up around the globe. Dr. Hassan found himself at the center of it all, working tirelessly to adapt the alien technology. In his lab in Cairo, he stared at a holographic display of Earth's new planetary shield. "It's not enough," he muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. His assistant, a young woman named Fatima, placed a hand on his shoulder. "We're doing all we can, Doctor. The whole world is united in this effort." Indeed, the threat of the Devourers had done what countless wars and crises could not. It had brought humanity together. Old enemies now worked side by side, pooling resources and knowledge. In orbit, a fleet of Earth's first true starships was taking shape. They were a mix of human ingenuity and alien technology, a symbol of how far they had come in so short a time. As the day of the Devourers' predicted arrival drew near, tension gripped the planet. In every home, on every street, people prepared for the unknown. In a small town in Russia, an old man named Victor taught his grandchildren how to use the new emergency teleporters. "Remember," he said, his voice gruff but kind, "no matter what happens, we face it as one people." The night before the expected contact, billions tuned in to a global broadcast. Leaders from every nation stood together, a united front. President Martinez of the United States spoke for them all. "Tomorrow, we face our greatest challenge, but we do not face it alone. We stand with our galactic neighbors, ready to defend not just our world, but all worlds against this threat." As dawn broke on the fateful day, the skies above Earth filled with the imposing sight of the Devourer fleet. Their ships were massive, dark shapes that blotted out the stars. In the Global Defense Center, buried deep beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Hassan and General Lai watched the approaching armada. "All systems are ready," General Lai reported, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Dr. Hassan nodded, then opened a channel to the Galactic Empire. "Zorn, they're here. We could use some help." The response was immediate. A fleet of shimmering ships appeared, taking position alongside Earth's defenders. Zorn's voice came through, filled with pride. "You've done well, humans. Now let us face this threat together." As the Devourers approached, Earth's defenses sprang to life. The planetary shield glowed, a beautiful blue barrier enveloping the planet. The combined fleet of Earth and the Galactic Empire moved to intercept. The battle that followed was like nothing humanity had ever experienced. Energy weapons lit up space. Massive explosions bloomed in silence. On the ground, people watched the sky, hearts pounding, hoping their preparation had been enough. Hours passed, feeling like an eternity. Slowly, surely, the tide began to turn. The Devourers, for all their might, had not expected such fierce resistance. They had not counted on the combined strength of humanity and the Galactic Empire. As the last Devourer ship fell, a cheer went up around the world. People poured into the streets, hugging strangers, crying tears of joy and relief. In the aftermath, as the dust settled, Zorn's ship landed in front of the United Nations building in New York. He emerged, along with the Council of Elders, to address the people of Earth. "Today," Zorn said, his voice carried to every corner of the globe, "you have proven yourselves worthy of your place among the stars. The Galactic Empire welcomes Earth as a full member." The crowd erupted in cheers. Dr. Hassan, standing nearby, felt a tear roll down his cheek. They had faced their trial by fire and emerged stronger. As night fell, people around the world looked up at the stars with new eyes. The galaxy was still full of dangers, but also wonders beyond imagination. And now, at last, they were ready to explore it. The warning that Earth was off limits had been lifted. Humanity's great adventure was just beginning.